What is up, guys? It is Sunday the 15th of April, and wait a second, this isn't the Snappy-Tech podcast. This is your tech news roundup. Roll the intro. I may have kinda sorta forgotten that I wasn't home for the Snappy-Tech podcast this week, so instead of having a podcast with literally no one, I thought I'd do a tech news roundup. So we're going to have this for a week, and then as of next week we'll be back. We should have Benjamin Abawaji, also known as the Lover of Tech. He's great, we've had him on multiple times before. He should be on next week, you're going to love it. But until then, here are some tech news stories that may or may not be interesting to you. First of all, we found out that over last year, Apple has had 12 employees arrested. What for, I hear you ask? Leaking documents and memos. And how do we know this? Because there's a leaked internal memo about it, obviously. Oh my days. Now, it should be mentioned that there were actually 29 fired with only 12 of them arrested, so there was actually a larger number of employees that were caught. However, Apple has started getting good at this. But not good enough, obviously, because the memo was leaked. This shouldn't be surprising following Tim Cook's pledge to double down on security back in 2012. The memo comes across to me, at least, as like, they're proud and they're a bit pretentious. Like, oh, look at us, we're so great at catching these leakers. Like, really? Good job, Apple. You did it. It also feels like a little bit of a guilt trip, so let me read some prime excerpts. The impact of a leak goes far beyond the people who work on the project. Leaking Apple's work undermines everyone at Apple and the years they've invested in creating Apple products. Now, don't get me wrong, as much as I enjoy seeing leaks, right, because I want to know what's up and coming, I do understand Apple's perspective of you don't want people leaking your stuff all the time. And then in what seems to be a move to blame leakers for copying Apple as opposed to the companies that copy Apple for copying Apple, they say, and I quote, "The impact of a leak goes beyond the people who work on a particular project. It's felt throughout the company. Leaked information about a new product can negatively impact sales of a current model, give rivals more time to begin on a competitive response, and lead to fewer sales of the new product when it arrives." Now again, I do completely agree that that is something that could happen, or at least in the case of leaking and deflating current sales, does happen. But if your killer feature is the kind of thing that can be copied within 2 weeks, maybe it shouldn't be your killer feature. Apple stated they weren't only catching employees who were leaking information, but also contractors and people in the supply chain. However, in a move to also discredit the people who report on the leaks and to call the leakers the victims, Apple have basically blamed everyone and then gone, but it's not their fault, it is the other people's fault for every single one. Anyway, final quote here. In many cases, leakers don't set out to leak. Instead, people who work for Apple are often targeted by press, analysts and bloggers who befriend them on professional and social networks like LinkedIn, Twitter and Facebook, and begin to pry for information. While it may seem flattering to be approached, it's important to remember that you're getting played. The success of these outsiders is measured by obtaining Apple's secrets from you and making them public. A scoop about an unreleased Apple product can generate massive traffic for a publication and financially benefit the blogger or reporter who broke it. But the Apple employee who leaks has everything to lose. I'm sorry, this almost sounds like the start to a horror movie. Is it just me who sees this? The employee had everything to lose. In slightly more upbeat, I don't think it counts as upbeat. In slightly more technically upbeat news, the gaming BAFTAs were this week. Why is it only technically upbeat? Well, that's because some of the games that won were dark. Really dark. Horizon Zero Dawn won the award for Original Property. Super Mario Odyssey won in both Game Design and Family Game categories, which, real quick, if you haven't played Super Mario Odyssey, it is awesome, I highly suggest it. Another game I suggest is Zelda Breath of the Wild, which won the Game Innovation Award. However, the game that won the most awards and isn't for the faint of heart is Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. It won Artistic Achievement, Audio Achievement, British Game, and most importantly, the Game Beyond Entertainment. Game Beyond Entertainment is a new category that was introduced this year for a game that is more than a game. Hence the Beyond Entertainment. This isn't a game that's fun to play like Mario or Zelda or FIFA. This is a game that really drills deep into experiences, into things that are serious matters and explores them. You aren't playing this for fun, you're playing it for the experience. And to emphasize this, Melina Jurgens, who plays Senua in Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice, won the Best Performer award. Finally, some quick commiserations are due for What Remains of Edith Finch. They were nominated for almost every award and lost almost every award. However, they did win the Best Game award. So there's that. If you want a list of all the winners, the link is in the description, so be sure to check that out. And finally, it was one hell of a week for Facebook's CEO and founder Mark Zuckerberg. I can't even keep a straight face because of all the memes. If you aren't aware, here are some of the memes. They are hilarious. The poor guy, he's been memed so hard. Something the hearing did really well was show how people in power don't really understand the internet. Want to see what I mean? Listen to a couple of these clips.
How do you sustain a business model in which users don't pay for your service?
Senator, we run ads.
I see.
If I'm emailing within WhatsApp, does that ever inform your advertisers?
No, we don't see any of the content in WhatsApp. It's fully encrypted.
Right, but is there some algorithm that spits out some information to your ad platform, and then let's say I'm emailing about Black Panther within WhatsApp. Do I get a Black Panther banner ad?
Senator, Facebook systems do not see the content of messages being transferred over WhatsApp.
Yeah, I know, but that's not what I'm asking. I'm asking about whether these systems talk to each other without a human being touching it.
Senator, I think the answer to your specific question is if you message someone about Black Panther on WhatsApp, it would not inform any ads.
Okay.
It was nothing short of hilarious. However, some things have come out of that. For example, we found out that Mark Zuckerberg had to sit on a booster seat. And we also found out that the reason Mark Zuckerberg looks like a bit of a robot is because I think I would too with this many cameras pointed at me. On a slightly more serious note though, there were actual interesting revelations that came out of this. For example, Mark Zuckerberg said his own information had been used by Cambridge Analytica. Also saying things like, my position is not that there should be no regulation. I think the real question, as the internet becomes more important in people's lives, is what is the right regulation? He also took responsibility, apologising and saying it was entirely his fault, which, considering he's an android without capability of human emotion, is actually quite interesting. We discussed this on the podcast last week, so I don't want to rehash it too much. If you want to hear this, do go check out last week's podcast. But I mentioned that it's quite hard to entirely blame Facebook because even though it was kind of, the text wasn't great and the disclosures are very similar, so it's quite hard to tell what you're giving away. You did technically give away that information when you gave it permission to take it all. So Facebook, yes, they should have done a better job disclosing it. But it's not 100% Facebook's fault because you gave them the information because you wanted that quiz. Was it really important that you knew what colour crayon you are? The core takeaway here being, just be careful with your information online. Make sure you don't do pointless quizzes like which Sherlock Holmes character you are, and also don't log into stuff with your Facebook account if you can. I know it's great to be able to one-click log into everything, but you're giving those things your information, and there's information, and you could have given this application permission 5, 6, 7 years ago, and it still has access because it stays up to date. And finally, in the words of Apple, one more thing, because there was a huge announcement out of Apple this week on a serious note. They announced, are you ready for this? A red iPhone. You may remember they did this last year with the iPhone 7, but this year they've done it with the iPhone 8 and 8 Plus. It is now available with a red back. The red is much brighter than last year's red, which is not surprising because it's on glass now, so it looks gorgeous. Perhaps more importantly, it now has a black front, so it looks way better than last year's. And yeah, that's it. It's exactly the same as every other iPhone. It's just been released 6 months into the cycle and is now red. Oh, also, a unreleased gold iPhone X has been leaked because of the FCC. However, from behind it looks like more of a cream colour than a gold colour, but hey, it is what it is. Expect an iPhone X that comes in gold in the coming weeks. If you like this video, great, hit that like button. If you didn't, I'm not quite sure what you're doing here. However, don't worry, there is great news. You can click here to see the latest podcast, which was published just last week, and there's a new one next week, so make sure you're here next Sunday at 8 PM British summertime. Or you can click here to see our latest video that isn't the podcast, which was actually really fun. I took a phone to the beach, torture tested it, it was so much fun, it was great. And finally click here to subscribe to see our future videos. Go do that, click the orb of subscription. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.